I'll try not to. Good, man. There you go. All right.
Will this call him in if we push that button? Ready to go? Okay, I'll call to order this meeting of the TIRZ 1, 2, 3, and 4 Power Center meeting. And I guess we can start off with invocation. Charles, would you mind
Sure.
blessing us here?
My dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day, and thank you for our city that you let us represent and work with. Thank you for the elected officials that are here today and lead and guide us to do what's best for the community as a whole. This we pray in your son's name. Amen.
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 I'll do the pledges with me.
Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you all. All right. I'd also like to welcome our visitor today, Kelly Lane. Appreciate you coming, bud. All right. Okay. Well, I guess we can get moving into things here. We have any remarks from anybody, visitors or anything? All right. First thing on the agenda is to adopt the minutes from the last meeting, which took place on May 13th of 2024. Anybody have any corrections or concerns about that?
I'll make a motion we adopt.
All right. Motion from Mr. Whitaker. Okay, Mr. Hunt seconds. Okay, it's been approved. Discussion items. Excuse me. Discuss downtown project updates. You wanted me to read all these off or just one at a time?
You know what? If you'd like, you could just open for 6-1 through 6-6, and we'll just roll, because it's all in one
let's do
PowerPoint.
that. Then
Yeah.
we'll be discussing downtown projects, discuss the Apache Trail and Fire Station number 3 updates, discuss North Spur development update, discuss Arboretum Estates development update, discuss draft of FY25 budget, discuss upcoming meeting dates, and then deliberations regarding economic development negotiations will be actually an executive session. Mike?
All right, so we've got a nice little PowerPoint that Raylan and Elmira helped create, and we'll just try to roll through it. The first couple of slides are how wonderful downtown is, and again, if you don't think Raylan's doing a good job, you are crazy, because we are doing a great job. And we had at City Council last night, Angie and Sadie and Sharon from the Chamber and from the Terrell Visitors, I always say it wrong, Terrell Visitors, Terrell, man, oh man, Convention and Visitors Center, man, oh man, TVCCCCB. They have a contract with the city, and as you guys know, about $80,000 of that is funded through TIRZ, and the rest of that is funded through the hotel occupancy tax. The TIRZ picks up the downtown part of it, and the hotel occupancy tax takes care of the rest of it. And it's been a really good partnership. So to put that together with what the Paddock Board is doing and what this board supports with maintenance and operations has been a really good thing downtown. When Raylan first presented to the Paddock Board, hey, let's do this landscaping project, let's move forward. Y'all know that the rule book, the Park and Downtown Improvement Corporation, is the public vote with those Type B funds was for capital improvements only. Well, that would mean that if the Paddock Board planted all those trees downtown, They can't maintain them. Who's maintaining them? The tax increment refinance zone, because that's an operational expense that the TIRZ can pick up. So there's a lot of back and forth partnerships that we do, and Raylan manages all of that and is doing a great job with it. So here's the desired outcomes downtown. This has been at several of our public meetings, so I like to just kind of bring this back from time to time to say this is the goal, so judge us against this goal, right? We want to be a place where small businesses can launch and grow. There's a small business, I'm not going to say out loud publicly, that the Old Country Junction space has a potential entity going into it, and that's something where Raylan and our staff are already meeting with those folks, and we're looking at, hey, what do they need underground next to it? What do they need on the inside of it? What building permit can we get for them? All of that work is somebody who they've never run that kind of business before. This is their first time. This is an entrepreneur wanting to incubate a new business, and it takes a little tender loving care to get them through that process. We want to be a place where Southwestern Christian College students and professors can safely walk downtown. We've never been the kind of place where you would walk from Southwestern Christian College to downtown to get a sandwich. But wouldn't it be great if I could get some of those folks who teach over there to say, well, of course, I'm going to go over to Soldier's Daughters. I'm going to go over to Rio Lerma. I'm going to go to this new restaurant, whatever it might be. I'm going to work at Terrell Coffee Shop in the afternoon and just sit there and type away on my laptop. That's the kind of place we want to aim for. I always say that my test of whether or not it's a good public space is if you walk around and you see a lady or a grandmom or a granddad or somebody pushing a baby stroller, or if you see a pregnant woman walking around, because you know what? They don't go to unsafe places. They know what's safe and not safe, and if you get yourself a safe, inviting place where it feels safe, you're not overrun by people who don't seem like they ought to be there, you don't have a crime reputation, you have a positive experience when you go there. So baby stroller friendly downtown, it's not just I can walk, right? That's an important element of baby stroller friendly, but it's also that's the environment you're creating. Easy to get to residential neighborhoods. We'd love to do something with the British Museum. That conversation keeps going on. We just picked American National Bank as an example. We want those employees to, and this was the key, walk across the railroad tracks and go to a new library, because we don't want the railroad tracks to be a boundary. Seniors with limited mobility can get where they need to go. Those 2 new parking lots will help us with that goal. Residents of Anderson Building, that's the 4-story building over there. We want those folks, when they start moving in here in a couple of years, to be able to do some fun stuff downtown. And again, all of our residents can be in a peaceful, well-manicured environment. That's the outcomes we're aiming for. If you think we're off target with one of those, throw a rock at us, tell us we're doing the wrong thing. There we go. Guiding principles, I won't read through all of these, but again, these are what we're working on. And whenever we work with our grant agencies, this is what we want to tell them, because this is the language they're looking for. This is the stuff that they're looking for to say, oh, okay, you qualify for the grant because you're doing things like on the road to zero. That's their little slogan up at TxDOT for reducing traffic collisions, environmental justice, and that's stitching and knitting language. That's the language they use up in Washington, D.C. about making sure that we're taking a diverse community and making it one community, not a series of little things with barriers between them. Quiet zones, this is a work in progress. I'm going to brief everybody on it. We already have quiet zone credit for the closing of Delphine, so there's real world progress getting made. You saw us update some striping and some marking along some of our railroad tracks recently. That project was very important and helps us along the way to get our safety quiet zone grant. So we applied in May for our Chrissy grant. We hope to find out in January that we will win it. The grant total is $20 million, and the Park and Downtown Improvement Corporation, as well as the city, are putting in a combined $5.5 million to support the Quiet Zones project. And if you're not familiar, that's basically saying from Gardner being a quiet zone location all the way over to FM 148 being a quiet zone location. That's the zone we're aiming for with no train horn noise. So that is well underway, and still working on some of those coordination elements about what will get funded for that. And we did include Broad Street in that because we're making the argument that Broad Street and South Alley are inherent parts of that, even though we are kind of stretching our interpretations there. That's what we like to do when we apply for grants. We're going to stretch that baby as far as we can get it. We have another project that we're working on, and again, Raylan is the pioneer of this idea. We passed under our CO 2023, right? So we borrowed money as a city, and we thought, well, we'll knock out one of these roads in our downtown area. And we thought, well, we'll go do Newton because Newton has some severe drainage problems where if I don't do the Newton drainage, I can't go fix that Rochester drainage that's so obvious, and I can't get through like all the trees and overgrown nonsense that's along State Highway 34. When you notice that and you're about to go over the bridge coming from the south, that's where all that water is going. So I got to work in the right place. I got to fix drainage on Newton, got to build Newton, and got to work through that process. So that money was included in 2023C. And then we said, hey, wait a minute here. Why don't we combine that with the transportation development credits? And why don't we try to go combine all of that into a bigger grant and build some more of these roads? So we're working on Spur 226, South Adelaide, South Francis, West, a little part of, shouldn't say West End, I should say Grove, and South Rockwall to try to get a larger grant on that. We'll see if that's successful. Again, just trying to create partnerships and drag federal money into downtown Terrell. Town Square, people ask, what's the status of that? We've bought all the land, okay? And so that was a very, very important part of it. A lot of process went in with that. We do own the place that people might have used to call fast gas or mom and pops. When we own all of the land between Broad, Newton, Francis, and Adelaide. So that's the zone that we own. The two operating warehouses over there that are still there, those are ours, but we had to do a lease back on that through April of 2025. So we know that we want to get to the point where we demolish a few more things. Part of your budget over the years has been to support some of the demolition here. Just as a history lesson issue, the borrow that we did a couple of years ago shows up in your debt payments, and that borrow was designed to get us down the way with some of the land purchases here, as well as some of the other initial expenses. And so y'all have continued to support this over time. The greening phase is what we're trying to get to. Now that we own the land, we're about to take care of another couple of the demolitions, and we will end up with, after our 2025 demolitions, with only one warehouse left. We think that the one large warehouse that's at the corner of Grove and Adelaide is a redevelopment opportunity for us. So Raylan and the team will be working through the process of trying to figure out what can we do with that building. It's still usable, it's in good shape, and what can we do with somebody moving in there and actually having a family-friendly use in that building? We don't know what that necessarily might be right now, but that's another partnership opportunity because we'd like to do that with the Park and Downtown Improvement Corporation. The silos are another opportunity. We are going to demolish the Merco building, which is the metal building that is next to the silos, but the silos are in reasonably good shape, and there was a little fan club of staff that wanted to keep them. I kept saying bah humbug because I thought, well, I don't know, those things are going to fall down. But I think that the silo fan club had the right idea. I think leaving those up, letting them be iconic, get them painted and renovated. It also makes a really nice combo in combination with the warehouse, because remember, we'll be shutting Grove down, and that means that you'll be able to be a pedestrian walking across there. So whoever's going to be our reuse opportunity in the warehouse creates that opportunity with the silo, and the paddock board's looking at between the silos and the warehouse as sort of being a place where we could put a downtown splash pad or something along those lines. All that thinking isn't quite done yet, but it gives us a little node to work from that's some of our existing buildings. People ask about the mural building, the Wall of Honor building that has some of our African-American leadership on it over there. That building is going to be able to stay as the park annex building. if we're going to mow and maintain all of this stuff, we need equipment over there, so we're kind of thrilled to be able to do that. The engineering analysis of that building came back to say that's fine for us to put a garage door on the back side of it, and we'll end up doing that as part of our initial work here. So when people say, what's next with the town square park? The next thing is just stabilize, get rid of the roads, and make it drain to grade, right? It's all we want to do now so that the whole thing has no roads, no utility, power poles up on it, and we can start working on some of the more expensive stuff later. But getting that phase done that we call greening phase, I think will be hugely important for us. The next one, some more capital projects. Y'all are partners with the 2 parking lot projects. To be clear about that, that was in your FY24 budget. We will fully expend that money, and we will have the parking lot on the south side at Moore and Virginia, parking lot on the north side. There were combined, I'm speaking rough numbers, there were combined 600,000, and you guys budgeted for 300,000. Paddock Board budgeted for 300,000. We've got concrete curing, we'll stripe it, we'll plant trees around it, make them look fancy and nice, and then be able to open that up and have some really good, number one, handicap parking, so that's positive, and then also have opportunity for just additional parking down there. When we talk to people who want to open restaurants, and we talk to people who want to open more retail, those parking lots are crucial. Will they really be enough for, 300 people come downtown? Hey, when 300 people come downtown, they're going to park in different places. They're going to go park on Nash, and they'll park in the City Hall parking lot. They'll find places to park. But having what we all nickname in a downtown area teaser parking, where it says, oh, I see there's a parking lot there. Oh, it's full. That's okay. I'll just drive over here, and I'll park close to the parking lot. When you're mentally in an old downtown, that's great. That's what you need. You need to be able to see, okay, if I can't park there, there's a little arrow that says more parking over there. So we're real happy with that, and it coalesces with the entire program. Next, so okay, that one was 6.1, downtown project update. So as they say, let me pause there and redirect to Vice Chairman. Is there anybody want to pause and ask any downtown questions?
You know, we've had discussions about the old Carnegie Library, and y'all said there were discussions about that building. Mm-hmm. You know, y'all have developed relationships with the players there that are taking care of it and stuff.
Yeah, so the Carnegie Library is a great resource for us, and I would say that the Terrell Heritage Society is doing a good job running it. They have a little bit more staff presence now that I think really helps them out a lot. You want to throw in any thoughts on that? It's a great question.
Yeah, just real quick. So the Heritage Society partnered with Mark Thacker, who is the contracted architect with the Paddock. And so we have completed the full scope of different phasing of renovation on the Carnegie Building. And so the Heritage Society is fixing to start a facilities campaign. So, and with this document now, Jessica and I will be working on different grant applications and things like that. So we were kind of waiting on the master plan update because it hadn't been updated in quite a few years. So we went ahead and got that knocked out this fiscal year. Yeah.
Really am.
Yeah, so that is good news.
If anybody's interested, it's me and Glenn Caldwell have done this. That building has a fascinating roof. So if you go and you climb up the ladder and you get to the roof, then you can see it's got a real interesting combo pack of peaks, valleys, places where it collects water, places that drains, blah, blah, blah. It's an extremely old style of make a roof because it's got a peak within a peak up there. So anytime you want to tour, you got to like take your life in your hands, right? Because it's also how did they access the roof in what, 1912, something like that? Yeah, it's amazing. Great question. Any other downtown questions? Yes, sir.
So ABCDF, that Carnegie Library building is in what kind of shape?
Oh, you want to try answering that? I'm going to call it a C because I think we've done enough with roof, windows, and building envelope over the years to prevent major problems. but I wouldn't say that that means there's anything, quote, done about it. I think it still needs a lot of love. Go ahead.
So architects and engineers in the building, they continue to let us know that the bones are still good. The maintenance that has been done on the building is keeping it somewhat preserved. Part of the phasing that was recommended by Mr. Thacker kind of addresses the heavy needs first, and kind of puts those together in a reasonable financial plan. So that hopefully when we go out and look for money and funds, that we can have sections of that are being taken care of. So your floors, your foundation, the roof has been repaired, and then the windows. So the box itself is holding on strong.
Well, because I mean, yeah, I just think it'd be a great anchor for what you're trying to do downtown, because people just don't come to go to one thing.
Yeah.
And we've kind of stuck all of our pennies in one building we had to totally demolish to rebuild. So I just think, we can commit to the Carnegie Library.
It's a neat building.
Yeah. And by the way, I'll also say regarding the Chapman Building, we're just in a holding pattern there. We spent $135,000 buying it. We spent some money with an architect trying to figure out what to do with it. And basically, the answer for the architect goes like this. If you want to make that elevator useful, and you want to make building the metal erector set on the inside of it that you have to do to really support the large size of it, then you really should upgrade from a 3-story building and just commit to go ahead and do like a 5-story building. Make it a much bigger facility, keep your cost per square foot down by making it bigger. So that's where we tapped the brakes and said, whoa, if you're going to get that big on me, then I just spent a lot more money. So we did pause there. The other version of the idea from the architect team, and just common sense, right? Everybody knows what it looks like when you walk inside the IRIS building. The other option for the Chapman Building is to say, look, nobody wants to spend the money on, again, the erector set in the inside of it, and nobody wants to spend the money on the elevator. So therefore, just copy the lyric, right? Give yourself a nice high ceiling, give yourself a mezzanine in the back, stairway that comes into the front, emergency stairway in the back, stick some restrooms in the bottom of it. You got a perfectly good multi-use bottom floor and some office space up on the top floor. So we have talked to various people about different versions of that partnership, and I just don't think anything's ripe right now. I think so. We've held and not spent the money, but that's a building that needs a partner. Somebody needs more oomph than we are going to be able to put into that building. That's a good observation. Okay. Move on to the next one, or?
Item 6.2, discuss Apache Trail and Fire Station number 3 updates.
Awesome. So Station 3, this one's going very well. We've done some tours. At least one person here is much more of a fire station expert than I am, but I have been able to do several tours. No. The nice man next to you, who should hit you now, anyhow, it's good to go look at them, right? And so one of the requests I had of the team as we were getting later in the process is we had a committee of our firefighters touring some stations, looking at it, kind of soaking it in, giving advice. And when we got to the end of that, and they had a nice little site plan for me, I said a simple question. I said, look, if we're going to spend $13, $14 million on this, I want to go to 2, 3, whatever it is, examples where the building layout is as close as this example I'm looking on paper. And I want to talk to the firefighters who are in those buildings, and I want to find out what they think of the layout and how it's set up and blah, blah, blah. So we did 2 really good tours, and I would say that what you find out is the firefighters in the building will always have that was done right and that was done wrong, right? So you always learn, right? And so what I was trying to accomplish was getting the architect team and us there and be able to say, okay, if we think that this drawing on this piece of paper is an A+, and we walk over there and we walk through a building layout that's nearly identical, and we say, hey, you're in here, you Saginaw guys are over here all the time. what are you thinking about this? And I'm blanking, the other one's Grapevine, right? So it was Grapevine in Saginaw, and you walk through and you say, okay, Grapevine firefighter, what do you think of this building? And they said, well, after we moved in, we ourselves, the firefighters, we built this over here, right? Because they didn't include that, and we really needed that. And so you find out pros, cons, that sort of thing. There's some interesting way of doing the doors these days that involve the idea that you want to get airflow in, right? But you also, in the modern age, you really can't have the public be able to just walk in, right? So what do? So there's some applications for the roll-down kind of chain garage door that you can do. And we just sort of talked about, okay, it's Texas, what do you do with airflow, what makes sense? What do the guys in the building really do, and how do they really manage those doors? Okay, great. When you listen to them, you realize, oh, our architects maybe got it, maybe they were going to only get a B in that, and we can upgrade what we're doing to get an A, because now we've really talked to the real live firefighters who are operating it. So that was a really important last step for us. We like that a lot. We are going through a bid process right now, so we have a construction manager agent, and they're vetting all of that good stuff. We actually think we'll get final pricing on this stuff fairly soon, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a preview of that in September, and we get actually a vote in October on that final pricing. In theory, we could be in this thing by the end of December 2025. I absolutely hate quoting that, because it's a construction project, and as soon as we start doing something out there in the real world, there'll be a hiccup, there'll be a something, and we'll be a little bit later than that. Shane LaCroix and Raylan are coordinating a presentation to City Council soon, which I'll bring to you guys when it's ready, that basically goes through the idea of, okay, this is what's happening operationally in the overall program. We've got a couple of fire engines that we've ordered that will arrive, we hope in a timely manner. We hope we'll get here in January of 2024. And those are additions to the fleet that are already ordered, already partially paid for, that need to be part of this. And then we're setting up, and actually discussed last night at City Council, the overall budget to add the 16 firefighters. And of course, we do some promotions as well. So we've got 16 new firefighters who need to get hired to support this. And yes, of course, the very natural thing, that doesn't mean all the new guys will be out at Station 3. You mix them right, you shake it up a little bit, and you make sure the new folks and the ones who have some tenure in our city get to talk to each other, and there's a mix at those different stations. So lots of excitement with that, and I think that's going to come off very, very well. That's coordinated with another thing that was a part of that 2023 C borrowing as well. We got our bids here on April 2024. For some reason, we hire a firm called King George Traffic Solutions. I'm a little worried about the name, but they're out there, and I believe they're rocking and rolling right now, and just barely started. One of the big important things I like to say about this is this slide actually gives you the chance to see the corner of Rexall and Apache Trail. Very much, and that's where the fire station goes. Very much wanted to make sure that we got that section of pavement done. And this is also a great story that you know, Steve Rogers and Chris Knapp would, you know, it's the kind of thing that frustrates them. This road is the example of, you got to have good engineering standards for your road, because if the engineering standards for your roads don't match the reality of the soil underneath of your road, and you don't do your construction oversight very well, and you're not inspecting the contractor, the combination of really probably not quite the right subsoil engineering and really not quite the right oversight of the contractor, that's part of what really busted up Apache Trail for us. So we had to get out there, rebuild it, rework it, and that's going on now, and that's been a really important project. The EDC made a contribution to this, you guys made a contribution to it, but by and large, the lion's share of that $4 million-ish cost is just supported by City of Terrell property taxes. Los Lomas Parkway, this is another grant application that we have in. Raylan loves grants with abbreviations. This is RCE, that's Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant. And for this and the Chrissy grant, we had some good meetings early in 2024 up in DC with some federal officials. This one, we hope to get that grant in February of 2025. I am ecstatic about this because this is something that we've been talking about at City Hall for over a decade. Los Lomas obviously got an intersection at Spur 557 thanks to TIRZ #1 participating with the EDC to build the interchange at that location. That was part of our pass-through program. So now we have an interchange called Los Lomas and Spur 557. You don't feel like you get to go anywhere, right? You go to Apache Trail, you get a dead end. Well, this is the extension of that. You go from the Apache Trail connection, which, by the way, is, to me, this drawing is always laying on its side because it's more of a north-south road. But on the left-hand side, below the SCH, is the intersection with Spur 557, and you can see the Apache Trail intersection. We want to do a little expansion right in between those two, so it becomes a 4-lane road, and we want to go from Apache Trail over the bridge. Bridge goes over the railroad tracks, over US 80, and then does sort of this old-style jug handle down there. We own probably 90% of the right-of-way necessary for that, so we have a little bit of right-of-way catch-up to do. We originally acquired, I think, 80 feet from Nucor whenever we did it. We'll have some polishing of that we need to do. But again, great project, badly needed. Los Lomas, after it lands on the north side of US 80, turns a little bit and then points directly over to, kind of, sort of, but not exactly, the corner of Griffith and 205. So you could go from 205 down here, cross over, not have to worry about going through the 148, 205, 80 intersection at grade, because you get a bridge over the railroad tracks. Badly needed, and it's been our mantra for a long time. We don't want to be the city that forgot to build roads while it was growing. Not that there's any examples of that nearby, but we want to be the city that did build roads while it was growing, and this is one of our biggest examples of that. The EDC decided to vote to put $4 million into this for the local match side of it. Hugely important because this provides access for more stuff to get built at the industrial park, and the EDC is supporting this with $4 million of the local share. Okay, so I'll pause there. That is Apache Trail and Fire Station 3 updates. So again, I'll turn it back to you, sir.
Anybody have any questions or anything about that? Okay, we'll move on to 6.3, discuss North Spur development update.
Awesome. All right, here's the map of North Spur. You guys are not just, I always have to remind everybody, it's not just TIRZ #1 anymore, right? This is a TIRZ #4 project. TIRZ #4 is the one north of US 80 that stretches from Brushy Creek all the way over to 205. The very first instigating thing here was trying to convince these guys to annex. This was either going to be a mud of the style of like some parts of Heartland, some parts of Travis Ranch, some parts of Windmill Farms. And we said, wait a minute, guys, you're right on the edge of the city. You're in the school district. It's going to cause problems. We've seen that model before. We don't like that model. TIRZ #2 was created to help get us out of that. And we negotiated several different very important things here. So you've got the site plan here. It's 1,500 houses. There are 40-foot lots and 50-foot lots, so those aren't big mansions. On the other hand, those go for over $350,000 these days because that's just where the market stands right now. If you drive out there now, you can see a lot of good progress being made there. That big swath through the middle is where the outer loop will go in the future. Hugely important. That road goes all the way up to Interstate 30, all the way down to Interstate 20, and then, of course, swings around, and you can already drive on the outer loop up in Salina area, up in Denton County. Van Trust has come forward. We're working with them. They're going to be working on some of their stuff. Van Trust would not be here we would have single-family houses instead on the yellow area on this map if we hadn't had the cooperation with the county. Can't tell you how important that was. If you drive out US 80, what do you see on US 80 where the old racetrack used to be? You see a bridge really high up in the air. That developer was willing to invest in a bridge which is actually above the 100-year floodplain, rah, 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 and you can tell US 80 and the railroad track aren't, because it's nice and high, and at that location where they're above that, that's a TIRZ number 4 reimbursement that would not be possible, and that infrastructure wouldn't be there if TIRZ number 4 hadn't been created to support it. I want to use the cursor real quick to show. So here is the road. Chris, now what's the name of this road today, sir?
Reveille Way.
Reveille Way. There seemed to be some sort of overturning of the apple cart that happened where it changed name from Longhorn Drive to Reveille Way. And I can't pronounce Reveille correctly, and so I'm going to struggle with this for years to come. And, but anyhow, it's one road. It goes all the way through here, behind the retail. This is Pet Country Spa. If you go park close to Pet Country Spa, you can kind of see it back over here in development. You go back along through here, okay, great, and that's where you think you're turning and going down to US 80, but that's not really all that road does. That road actually can get up over here. We're working with this development right here in order to build Reveille Way, past it, and make it actually get up over here and connect to 237A. So there should be a Reveille Way, intersection that lines up with 237A. Hugely important project, and that project, again, would not be possible if we hadn't been planning this through. Remember, the project plan, finance plan for TIRZ number 4 includes a road not in the city limits, 237A, because that road needs to get improved one day. So hopefully the TIRZ number 4 will be an engine. It won't happen overnight, but it will collect money, and it will use the city property tax money and the county property tax money to extend Reveille Way being paved so that that's a complete transportation system. Even though we don't have annexation powers, even though we'll probably, I can't imagine a world unless all those folks who live along 237A raise their hand and say, oh, please annex us. Okay, you know that's not going to happen. But we created an engine here so that we can have a continuous roadway system that links up that part of the world. And remember, that means that Los Lomas Parkway will actually get to Reveille Way because that will be 237A. So, and by the way, 237A is easier to say than Reveille Way. So, but for me. All right, so that's a brief overview of North Spur, and where do we stand? 80% of the infrastructure in Phase 1 is complete. Phase 1 is going to start to sell lots and build houses in the next few weeks. I keep telling people, you basically can plan on buying a house out there if you want to sometime in the late spring of 2025. That's amazing. They're moving really fast. That's good. To me, the sooner they get some houses out there, the sooner we get some property taxes rolling in TIRZ number 4. And move on with all of this. The industrial portion has an approved construction plat. It's going to move forward with public improvements. Offsite infrastructure is going to continue. TIRZ number 4, we're going to keep talking about, and I just sort of mentioned this, as we move on in this process and we start to see that revenue come in, you'll see myself, might be Mark Mills, might be Chris Knapp come forward and say, okay, now let's talk about doing a partnership with TIRZ number 4 for doing something on County Road 237A. In my mind, if we get the grant related with Los Lomas Parkway, you've got a very short little stretch to connect Los Lomas Parkway with Reveille Way 237A. And that transportation connection makes such a difference to connectivity out there. And frankly, to freight traffic also. That's a big deal. There's 2 retail sites that are a little bit over 15 acres along US 80. If I were to go back to the map, those are your kind of, I don't know what color that is. What is that? Tan, far left. Yeah, keep going left, down. There you go. That's those That's one side. That one's, I think, 16 acres combined. That one's about 19 acres combined. So those retail sites, we've already talked to grocery stores about locating out there. So having those retail sites, they're development ready today. If somebody wanted to come in there and get a construction permit from Chris Knapp to build a 10-acre pad site for a grocery store, they can do it today. It's construction ready.
HEB?
I'm rooting for them. I'm trying them. I got them on speed dial, but it doesn't mean they take my call. Outer loop connection, I mentioned that already, so that one's going very well. So that's a quick overview of North Spur, trying to be respectful of your time here, everybody. Vice Chairman, any comments or questions?
Anybody have anything? All right, we'll move on to 6.4, discuss Arboretum Estates Development Update.
All right, here's the pretty map of Arboretum Estates. If you're not quite sure where it is, go to the corner of I-20 and FM 148, drive south, go past Davis Lane. There's a little S curve in 148 down there, and then you feel like you're in nowhere, right? All of a sudden, you're very rural, and there's nothing there on either side of the road for a while. That's Arboretum Estates. That's where that is physically located. Arboretum Estates also has Los Lomas Boulevard going through it because Los Lomas eventually makes that connection. And you can tell on this map on the north-ish side, because it's kind of angled, but on the north-ish side, that's industrial. Blue Star is out there. And there's a retail section there at the corner as well. There's a little bit of multifamily out there, and then there's 2,400 single-family lots. If you've been watching that part of the world, you know that the developer was cooperating with us and has finished construction of a 16-inch water line that goes from the corner of American Way and Sage Hill Parkway all the way down to the spot on this map where it says retail light industrial 28 acres. So that's just to the edge of that piece of property. That was an important milestone for us, and that water is there now. So their construction stuff is underway. I would say they're moving a little bit slower on, gosh, when do they want to start building single-family lots? We met with them yesterday, discussed some sewer issues, some roadway issues. They want to put a full court press, and I love this, by the way, on trying to expedite some of the frontage road improvements at the corner of 148 and Interstate 20. It's one thing for them to make investments on 148. It's another thing for investments that they make on 148 to get bottlenecked at the corner of 148 and I-20. And so that's a primary importance for them because they know that's a major outlet for them. And we're pushing, of course, on roadway improvements being a very important element of this entire thing. We are interested in getting more progress on this, but you can only go so fast. The big arrow on the far left side of this, by the way, is the extension of the outer loop. The outer loop right now is about to finish environmental clearance from FM 148, which is what you see here right at the edge, and that goes all the way up to State Highway 205. So it has a little bit on this map and a whole bunch on that North Spur map. And again, Los Lomas goes through the middle of this. That's the white diagonal line on this map is Los Lomas Boulevard. This slide is just a quick little overview of that one. The CCN, that's the Certificate of Convenience and Necessity. That's what the state of Texas nicknames the right to sell water. Right now, Rose Hill Special Utility District is moving out of having the right to build water or serve water there. The cases are going through the PUC in 4 different sections. 2 of the sections were approved by the PUC. A third is scheduled, I think, for September. And then the 4th one, which had some more complicated ownership issues, it'll tag along behind the rest of them. But then they will have full permission for the city to be the retail water seller there. And of course, that's what we're supporting. But that is the private sector's responsibility in this particular case to move out of the CCN of Rose Hill Sud. TxDOT has, again, the ongoing project along 148. This is US 80, but what we're referring to here is the Interstate 20 location. The EDC water line extension. Okay, so this is a big deal, and Commissioner, you know about this because you've been involved in it. Remember that we have, and I don't have a map of it, TIRZ number 3 is Eastland Business Park. That's the one that goes from Spur 557, stretches all the way down to Interstate 20. It was the yellow one on the map that you and I were just talking about. That one has gone dormant on us, right? So they've said, hey, we've made this progress, but we want to just punch the pause button. And developers will do that to you from time to time. Not a big deal. They wanted to punch pause. We said, okay, fine, we understand. And that means that the EDC offer to spend $10 million to build a water line going from Spur 557 down to Interstate 20, which would have supported Arboretum Estates. That's not going to happen in a timely manner for Arboretum Estates. And so they always had a plan B. Plan B is to go the opposite direction, and instead of going to sort of up Los Lomas to get a second means of access to water, they're instead going to turn around and go the other direction to get back over to the water tower. Y'all know where our water tower is, the corner of Rose Hill and I-20, so it's not like it's inconvenient, but we did have to kind of work through some engineering issues there. New wastewater treatment plant is another major issue. I don't think I got the... and this is my fault, I don't think I got the slide in there correctly, but I want you to think through this with wastewater treatment plant. We know that the wastewater treatment plant that is Kings Creek wastewater treatment plant, how does, pardon me for talking over lunch about yucky things, what do we have to do with our wastewater today? About half the city flows down Bachelor Creek, and the other half the city flows down Kings Creek, roughly. We have a whole bunch of stuff that is all the nasty stuff that goes to the Rose Hill pump station. It gets pumped a certain direction, and it goes up a force main, and then it goes around, and it gravities back down into Kings Creek, a wastewater treatment plant, and it gets treated and moves on from there. So we know, and it's in your TIRZ #1 project plan, that we've got a $17 million expense called Rose Hill Lift Station upgrade and Rose Hill force main upgrade. Why am I doing that? I'm doing that long-term because all the sewer from the west side of the city and on the west side of TIRZ #1 has to go and get pumped all the way over there. So we said, okay, how could we save some of that money? How could we spend a little bit less on that project? We could spend a little bit less on that project if we had, I'll go back one slide, there's a wastewater treatment plant, and if you're very sharp-eyed, you can see it on the bottom left of this page where it says WWTP. That's a 3-acre site where we would want to put a package plant. They have permission to put a package plant there. Well, what am I in the middle of doing right now? Right now, and this is Chris Knapp and DJ Brower, I'm looking at the Market Center lift station, corner of American Way and Sage Hill, north side of Interstate 20. The new frontage road for I-20 is going to knock it down. And that means the state of Texas is going to pay us to move our lift station. Do I move a lift station that force mains a whole bunch of sewer from the west side of the city all the way over just so it can get stuck at the Rose Hill lift station, which is already a problem for us and already a TIRZ #1 concern, right? Or do I say to myself, gosh, instead of all these expensive force mains and lift stations, what if I just let it gravity sewer all the way down to that wastewater treatment plant? Well, that's a capacity issue. I need to do a capacity analysis of that. But this is a new partnership idea that we're working through to try to figure out, wait a minute, the developer was going to have to spend a bunch of money on package plant. Wait a minute, the developer was going to have to spend some money on some pipes. Wait a minute, maybe the EDC wants to help open up wastewater for what we would call the 90-acre parcel that's very prominently across the street from Buc-ee's, right? That piece of land across the street from Buc-ee's, across I-20 from Buc-ee's, has no sewer access right now. One of the best retail opportunities we've got is the 90 acres across the street from Buc-ee's, but it doesn't have sewer. So we're going to work with the EDC and talk to the EDC about that. We're going to work with this developer to try to figure that out. And instead of having the state of Texas pay us $7 or $8 million to take a wastewater lift station that is, creates a force main need, instead of having them pay us to relocate that, what if they just gave us the same amount of money and we were investing in a gravity sewer system down here and a larger package plant down here. So that's an idea that's kind of in the glimmering stage right now, and will be talking to the developer of Arboretum Estates about it. We'll be talking to the EDC about it. We'll be talking to TIRZ number 1 about it, and because all this is in TIRZ number 2, we'll be talking to TIRZ number 2 about it, right? So it's all going to come together, because even though it's yucky, one of the things that you've got to do to make sure your new development is well served and you reduce the cost on your current residents is make sure that you are managing the wastewater side of it correctly. So that's a major issue. That's Little Brushy Creek, right? So the question is, well, what can Little Brushy Creek sustain? And it's not going to be endless, right? Because that's not as big a creek as Kings Creek. Yeah. Yeah. There you go, yeah. Okay, yeah. No, I understand that, yeah. I think probably good that we're a couple of miles away from you, but yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah.
No, Little Brushy Creek comes to my place.
No, I just mean that this site is a couple of miles from.
Sending everything.
Right, yeah.
You don't
No.
want to me.
I understand that, yeah, so. It is downhill, no one would deny that. So anyhow, that's my wrap-up on our real estates, and I'll take that right there, Commissioners. That's a good stopping place. So any questions and comments? Go ahead.
I guess you're just lucky I'm not gonna be here whenever
Well,
you have to decide.
it's not personal, it's wastewater planning.
Business.
I'm sorry.
I want you to run through, I said, there's Sims.
Oh, my gosh, wow, wait. You can nickname the plant, wastewater treatment plant after me. That's my life's ambition, is to have a wastewater treatment plant named after me. Anything else?
Personal and business take on a whole.
Yeah.
That's right, absolutely. You would make that joke, sir.
Anything else?
That's all on this one for me, anyway, so.
All right, let's move on to discussion item number 6.5, discuss a draft of FY25 budget.
All right, so I'm going to turn you over to this page now, and this, I think, is a pretty picture at the back. There you go. We can leave that up just so it's handy to see. So I'm going to talk from this, and it's budget season. So is there really a lot of news here? Not terribly, but I want to go through it. And as is our way, we're not asking you to vote on this today. What we like to do is orient you at one meeting, bring you back at another meeting, and let you vote. That gives you a chance to think about more questions and to challenge us and whatever might need to be done. All right, so let's walk through here, and I'll see if I can get this done correctly. FY24 budget said, hey, we're going to collect $639,000 in county tax increment. We're going to collect $2.4 million in city tax increment. We'll have a little interest income. We'll have a little over $3 million. So how do I read this page? That's the first column. The second column is just the projected. So we think we're going to meet our projected revenue right now. Not very exciting. The next column over is where we think we're going to be in the FY25 proposed budget. And these are all just preliminary numbers, but we do think we're going to be roughly at $687,000 for the county increment. City increment will be $2.6 million. Probably get a little bit more interest income off of the work that we're doing here. And then we say to ourselves, okay, now, given that, how are we doing on expenditures? Without reading you the whole sheet, we thought we would be at 2.1 million, almost 2.2 million in overall expenditures. And if you read the bottom of that sheet, you can see, well, we're going to come probably a little under $2 million in expenditures, okay? So we're still spending a lot of money, we're just spending just a tad bit less, okay? And, you know, I try to highlight some of that, but mostly it's been not quite spending most of the money. Sidewalk grant, well, we really finished spending that money in FY23, so we ended up not having an expense this time around. Again, just small things throughout the overall budget there. Didn't spend as much on consultant fees and services as we thought we might. That was the budget item that was holding money for the Convention and Visitor Center Bureau, and we're breaking that out separately in the next year budget. So I put that together with the next couple of items here. I look down here and I see, oh, Apache Trail. Because we wanted to have the TIRZ make a contribution to Apache Trail, but not too much, it was basically, okay, that was in the debt for 2023C. rather than having a slightly higher INS tax rate last year, we decided to do a one-time transfer from TIRZ number 1 to our INS fund. That's the fund that, you know, we manage with our property tax revenue. That's our property tax INS. And so we did that one-time transfer. That's the $400,000 there. We thought we'd have a drainage project to do related to the town square. Did not do it, might do it next year. Sidewalk repairs, that wasn't scheduled for this year. Land acquisition, we are tidying up some of the land acquisition stuff there. Didn't spend quite as much as we thought we might. And then that downtown parking lot, that's the one I mentioned. We thought we'd spend 300. That number is going to be 295 or so. That's going to be almost all of that money. So then we look at that and we keep going down. We say, okay, we also do transfers. We were going to transfer some money into downtown maintenance and operation, going to end up transferring a lot more because we did do more down there this year. And then we've got the INS transfer. That's the actual debt. So in 2021, you borrowed money, and that borrow of money was intended to say, okay, can we really get the land ownership and the demolition and all that sort of good stuff? We thought we might do something with the Chapman building, but really ended up doing more with land acquisition instead. Then we did some transfers there as well to make sure that we were handling all of our issues very well with stormwater and that sort of thing. So that's originally we were going to spend $4.2 million. And you can see down there at the bottom, again, TIRZ board voted on that last time around. You were going to eat up a lot of our existing fund balance. We still think we're going to eat up a lot of fund balance and end up at the $4.4 million total spent and end up with just a little fund balance left at the end of the year. Okay, that said, where do we translate that for next year? Obviously, we don't want to chew up fund balance again in FY25. So we're trying to manage the budget just a little bit differently, spend a little bit less money, and make sure that we don't run an overall deficit in the program. So, like I said, $3.3 million in revenue. The overall spending totals up to $3.2 million. And again, not to belabor a bunch of points here, we've got just a small amount on consultant fees and services, just a small amount to continue on library assessment. We think our administrative costs will be lower next year. And then we have our series of reimbursements. So that's where we've signed development deals. And Senecola, Baylor, Terrell Market Center, Buc-ee's, Crossroads. The Crossroads infrastructure thing is a calculation that we also need to provide in there. And so all of that is listed and shown as those reimbursement dollar amounts. And you can see they're basically just slightly higher than the previous year. And again, that's contractual. Downtown Project Office, we're moving that where that shows in the budget, so I'll get there in just a minute. Town Square Master Plan, finished that, no more spending there. Pena Partnership, didn't need to worry about that one because the Paddock Board picked up all of that. No more BFTS construction expenses. There's that Chamber Downtown Partnership for $80,000. And then we did a lot of demolition this year for $146,000, and we think about $75,000 in demolition will do it for next year. We have a contingency there. People say, well, what do you use the contingency on? And my comment related to that is we cannot perfectly calculate the amount of reimbursement money that we have to give the developers. We have a contract, we know it, but it's very dependent upon the exact number that they pay in property taxes. What if they pay a late property tax and it has some fees to it, blah, blah, blah. So because that number moves up and down, we like to have a contingency in there. And also Raylan would tell me, don't you dare start me down the process of taking care of our downtown area without a contingency, because I don't want to have broken bricks, broken this, broken that. If something breaks downtown, we want to immediately be able to fix it. Apache Trail, don't need to do that transfer again. We do want to hold some money for a drainage project because that's one of our biggest issues related to the town square. We did want to create a fund this time, and you can debate, did we pick the right dollar amount number? We just wanted to have a sidewalk repair fund. So wherever I am in TIRZ number 1, let's take care of our sidewalks and let's make sure that we're doing our handicap ramps and stuff like that. So we're not going to pave the world with only $100,000. That's not going to go a long way, but we think it's useful to have some stuff there, particularly with all the interest in downtown. And I'll use Commissioner Hunt's example of the Carnegie Museum. If we go out there and Raylan and Chris Knapp identify, well, wait a minute, I can't walk down North Francis safely because we've had a buckling in one of the sidewalks, and gosh, we just need, $2,000-3,000 to fix a little section of sidewalk there. This gives us chances to go in there, make those repairs, and keep the TLC with the sidewalks looking good downtown. No need for land acquisition, no need for downtown parking lot, those are done. We did enhance that downtown maintenance and operations number. We moved the downtown management administration over here, so those are continuing items, but just making sure we're showing those because those do transfer over to the city general fund. The INS number, again, that's the borrowing that we have on the books, so it shows up there with the debt payment that will be due this year. So, last year, just the way the debt worked out, it was 346 last year. This year it's 345. And then you see the two transfer outs. We won't do those. Those were one-time expenses for us. We run a balanced budget in FY25. That's important because we are hitting kind of low to the overall fund balance. But we do think we can deliver these things and be efficient doing it. So again, continue your commitment to downtown. Make sure we take care of some good sidewalk stuff, make just a little bit of progress on Town Square, and then just really be true to the amount of reimbursements we have to do, because some of our biggest taxpayers are the ones connected with the reimbursements. So that's a quick overview of the TIRZ number 1. I also handed out separately the Power Center one, and so, yeah, please, absolutely.
I'm not trying to be like Phil, but I have.
Please. Oh, my. Personal shot at a council member. Let the record show. He's good, yeah, huh? Yeah.
Like him, I need to know.
Yeah.
So, if I'm understanding correctly, the FY 2025, the land acquisition, there's absolutely nothing budgeted for that. So you know for sure, is that just downtown, or you know for sure that we wouldn't?
Well, yeah, great question. So we think, and I knock on wood, we think that the CO 2021 that we're operating under, where we budgeted the lion's share of the land acquisition anyway, do we have some additional closings and stuff that we'll do? Yeah, we do, because we are buying a lot of Union Pacific property along the railroad track. So just as a, for example, we agreed to pay them, say, $800,000 for a swath of right-of-way. They say, great, they sign a contract. When do we get to close, and when do they fund? I think Raylan, I keep looking as if Raylan's here, but, Raylan will tell you, once they sign the contract, they might do the closing in 3 months, or they might do the closing in 15 months, right? So I've got some stuff hanging out there where I've got plenty of money in the old CO 2021 to take care of that sort of thing. I think by the time I get to the end of FY25, that bucket will be pretty much empty, but I don't think I need to go back to TIRZ number 1 for additional purchases. If something surprises me and comes up, then we can always come back and talk about it with you. But I think that we're good under the previous CO to finalize all of the payments. We have a remaining payment to make to the owner of the warehouse at the corner of Grove and Adelaide, because we agreed that if he was going to be in that building, we would pay him most of his money, but not all of it. And right, so we have remaining payment there. And then, like I said, some of those Union Pacific payments hang out because they just have to stay on the books for a while. But all that's in a different CO.
Okay,
Yeah.
I saw 0 on it, maybe
Yeah.
a little.
Nope, that's a great question.
But thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah, absolutely. We are here for questions. Yes, more questions.
One thing I saw, the administrative costs, that they just went up from 20 to 25,000, just salaries and stuff, is that?
Yeah, it is, and then part of that also is just trying to make sure that, you say management and administration, but, are we actually really covering all of the cost related to municipal development doing their thing? Not really, and part of that is because in our downtown area, all of our fees are $1, right? So unlike the rest of the, city, where it's going to cost you, $500 for this because we need to cover the building official. It's going to cost you $10,000 for that because we need to cover such and such other inspection. When we're doing all fees are $1 downtown, I'm not running a revenue that supports the rest of the municipal development department. So downtown administration is intended to cover, yes, Raylan, yes, Raylan's assistant, yes, some of the office expenses that they have to do that work, but also I want to make sure I'm putting enough in there so that I can spend overtime with my building official and my fire marshal over there and let them get over there and really do that. Normally, I would have an account that would be fees, stuff people pay, blah, blah, blah. But since everything's $1 downtown at the municipal development window, we're foregoing a lot of income, and we want to make sure that we're fully supporting that. That's the idea behind it.
I just,
Yeah.
when we
That's a
voted,
good question, yeah.
well, when we voted on it, it was
Yeah.
20. And then,
It is trickling up,
whenever
yes,
you
sir.
went by there, you just.
Yeah, nope, great question, yeah. I wanted to make sure I fully explained it, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right, move on to item 6.6.
Oh, I got to do Power Center.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, the one extra page I handed out, and this was me, staff got this to me, and I wanted to make a little edit to it, so it took me a little longer to get it handed out for you. So again, same idea, I got a column for FY24 budget, I've got a column for FY24 projected, what we think will be at the end of the year, and then the FY25 budget. It's always awkward to do the translation, and I don't think we budgeted it quite right last year, so I made a little alteration here. So notice, first off, revenues, sorry, I skipped past revenues. Almost $1 million in revenues in '24. No reason to think it'll be different than what we were expected, so that's the revenue side of it. On the budgeted expenses side of it, really, those are going just fine. On the other hand, what you have to realize is we receive money from Terrell Market Center land area. We receive money from Bucky's land area, but we don't make the payout to Terrell Market Center and Bucky's. Terrell Market Center and Bucky's agreed that part of their money would be given to Baylor because Baylor paid so much of the roadway cost out there. And people have heard me saying this for years. Back when we signed these development deals with Baylor, we thought, wow, Baylor is agreeing to pay $5 or $6 million on roads, water, sewer, drainage out there. I guess they're serious about coming. But for whatever reason, they spent that money in 2014, 2015, 2016. They're getting reimbursements on it, but they've never done anything, right? And we talk to them occasionally, so that's a whole other world of frustration. But we do want to account for it correctly, and we really didn't have our math quite right last year, so we do have that projected expenses totaled up differently. The development partnership transfer is related to the event center, and that is the transfer that we were anticipating making last year, which we really think is going to be an expense that gets spread over this year and next year, where we're supporting some of the improvements that the event center partnership is making over in the Sage Hill Parkway, Independence, and wetland crossing, and the water and sewer associated with the future event center location. So we're just sort of spreading that money out over more than one fiscal year, and we think it'll be a little bit less than we anticipated, so that's good. So we were going to spend $1.4 million. After you rejigger it for the Baylor correction and rejigger it for a little bit less on that event center development partnership, you get down to $1.2 million. And then we think we'll mirror that again in FY25 with, again, roughly $1.2 million. A little bit more in revenue next year, a little bit more on some of these reimbursements because they track with our revenues, and we'll end up, again, balanced budget overall, but not really trying to run a balance in this program overall. So that's where we think we'll be in FY24 and in FY25 budget. So again, both of these, plus the ones I didn't show you today that are all very small, which are the TIRZ 2, TIRZ 3, TIRZ 4. We'll have those budget reports for you next week. So y'all's job is, it's great if you hate it and you tell me to change a bunch of stuff, that's allowed. On the other hand, we will end up over the next couple of weeks at one of these lunch meetings going ahead and putting the budgets on for discuss and consider, because the city budget has to get set. And What the city will want to find out is, our city council wants to know, is the TIRZ board happy with these draft budgets and think these draft budgets are going the right direction? So you actually take the role of recommending these budgets to the city council, and then they get finalized when the city council adopts its budget ordinance. So that's kind of mechanically the process for how that works. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Vice Chairman.
Okay. Any further discussion on that or questions? All right, now we move on to discuss upcoming meeting dates, 6.6.
Okay, right now, the one on the docket is for next Wednesday. That's another lunch meeting. Happy to feed you next week. I don't have an executive session for you today, but I was trying to give you overview of things. I do anticipate doing an executive session next week, and then we'll try to have the budget items on for discuss and consider so that they can be voting options for you next week. If you don't want to vote on them next week, that's fine. We'll always have an opportunity to meet the following week. But if you like, we'll have budget vote available, executive session available, and have a nice another lunch meeting next week, okay?
So we don't have executive, we're going
Not
to pass
tonight,
on
yes,
that?
sir. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then, I guess if there's no further discussion, I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? All right. Motion. Got a second on that?